Okay, and then the single sheet I want you to do with me front and back, okay? Now I've added a third box. There's a box in the middle. I'm doing the same thing I used to do here and here. But now, and this is as complicated as it gets, okay? After this, there's really no more steps to it. So I'll tell you what the middle box has been added for when I get to that. First, I do the first one the same as I always did. If I have a parentheses, circle it, and the -2 outside. Now you're going to start seeing negative exponents. And they're circled still. Okay, so, and make the dividing line if you don't have one, so everything's on top. Okay, what's the only number you have not circled? A 4. Or sorry, not circle, I mean not in a little circle by itself. Okay, and where are your variables? You have an X and a Y. Okay, I'm doing the same thing. So 4 to the 1. Now you might need your calculator for the multiplying if you're not confident with negatives, okay? Now 4 is to the 1, but I circled it, so we don't want to put 1. We got to take 1 times -2. -2. Okay, here's the X, -2. Don't write -2 down because that's in the circle. So -2 times -2 is +4. Negative times a negative is a positive every time. Positive times a negative is a negative. Okay, and then the Y is to the third. That's in the circle, so 3 times -2 is -6. Okay, and that's the only X I have, the only Y I have, so I don't need to do any operating with the exponents at this time. All right, now circle your 3 factors as before. Now, here's what we do. Does this have a negative X? Does this little thing become negative? Then switch the 4 to the other side of the line, and then the -2 goes to a positive. Did this end up with a negative? Nope. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put switch, because I'm going to put stay, because that doesn't have a negative, so we keep that on the same side it's on. It's on top, keep it on top. Okay, and that's a negative, so switch. SW. ST means stay, SW is going to mean switch. So it goes from the top to the bottom, and now the -6 is 6. Don't keep it negative. You're switching it so the power changes. Okay, now circle them again. And 4 to the second, I can clone that, and that's 16. Now where was 4 to the second at? On top or bottom? It's on bottom, so 16 goes on bottom. X to the 4 stays, and then Y to the 6 stays where it's at. Boom. Okay, next problem. You got a parentheses, circle it. You have no dividing line, so that goes right beneath everything. Okay, what's the only number you have that is not in a little circle by itself? 3. Okay, for variables, you have an A and a B, just one of each. Okay, so I don't need a plus or minus and all that crap. Okay, so 3. 3 is to the 1. But I did circle it, so I got to take 1 times 2. That's 2. Here's A, -1, but I did circle it, so I take -1 times 2, and that's -2. Okay. B. B would be to the 1, and I take 1 times 2, which is 2. I'm going to circle these 3 things. That is a positive exponent, so that's stay. That's a negative, so that's switch. That's a positive, so stay. Okay, so 3 to the second stays on the same side. A to the second goes to the bottom. So now it becomes a +2. Don't keep it negative when you move it. I don't want any negative powers. This box is for getting rid of the negative powers. You do that by moving them to the opposite side of the line. B to the second, stay. Stay means keep it where it's at, okay? So 3 to the second, that means 3 times 3, and that's 9. And now where's 3 to the second's on top? 9 belongs on top. B to the second on top, A to the second on bottom. Okay, next problem. Circle your parentheses and a little power outside. Okay, and make your dividing line if you don't have one. Okay, so I've got 10 as a little circle, non-exponent base. And then variables, I have one x and one y. 10 to the 1, okay? So 1 times negative 2, you circled it, and that's negative 2. X, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, okay? Y, again, everything has to get multiplied by negative 2. 3 times negative 2, positive times a negative is a negative no matter what, and that's negative 6. Use your calculator if you need assist, if you're not confident. That's switch, stay, switch. We're switching that to the bottom, so 10 and the 2 becomes positive. That's stay. We need to keep that where it's at because it already is positive power. Switch, move it to the bottom. Now it becomes positive. Okay. The only one I can figure out, I can clone, is 10 to the second. That's 100. Now 10 to the second's on bottom, so the 100's got to be on bottom. Then x to the 4th times y to the 6th. Keep the things where they're at now. When you get past this box, leave them where they're at. This was on bottom, so 100's on bottom. Top, top. Okay. Circle the parentheses. That's your first two steps. Make sure you see the dividing line. What's the only number I have not in its own little circle? 5. So that's a base. Okay, now what I have for variables, I have one x and a y. And use your times as your operator down here. Okay, 5 is to the 1, but I circled it, so I got to take 1 times 1. Well, that's easy. That's 1. X, negative 2. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Now you're like, I thought you don't copy them down. Yeah, but when I times it by 1, it stays the same. Okay, 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, let's circle all those bad boys. Positive 1, so stay. Negative 2, switch. Positive 3, stay. Okay, stay. Okay, so you keep that exactly where it's at. Switch means move that to the opposite side of the line, so negative 2 becomes 2. Stay, keep that on the same side it's on. Okay, 5 to the 1st, it'd just be 5. Okay, so 5. Now you're done switching things around. You keep everything where it's at when you go from here to here. 5 times y to the 3rd, x to the 2nd. All right, then on the back side, sorry, these aren't very fun, okay? This is the last part, okay? Circle it. So do you have any numbers that don't have its own circle? Okay, that 5. Circle that 5 right there. I meant to do that. I forgot, okay? Okay, so I don't have any numbers that don't have its own little circle, so there are no number bases. Variables, I've got a couple A's. One's on top, one's on bottom. Put A on top. Only one of them. B's on top, B's on bottom. Top's dominant. Top takes the cake. Okay, now let's look at A. Now we do have a couple of them. So this A is to the 1 power. So I circled it, so I got to take 1 times negative 2. That's negative 2. And my other A is on bottom, so minus, but not just 5 because we circled it. So I got to take 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Put negative 10 in parentheses. Okay. Negative 2 minus negative 10. Parentheses, negative 10. I got 8. Okay, so the A is to the positive 8th power. Okay, B's on top, so 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Again, I'm taking 3 times negative 2. And the other B, it's on bottom of the dividing line, so minus, but we don't put 1 down. We got to take 1 times negative 2, and that's negative 2. Okay, so negative 6 minus negative 2. I got negative 4. Okay, so circle those two. That's a stay because 8's positive. That's a switch. So you keep a to the 8th where it's at, which is on top of the line. The b goes to the other side of the line, so the 4 turns positive. Okay? And we don't clone variables, so those will just stay the same. A to the 8th, b to the 4th. Okay, next one. Easily the crappiest problem. Okay, here's a parentheses, circle it. Here's a parentheses, circle it. Here's a parentheses, circle it. And here's a parentheses, circle it. So everything's circled. Okay, what numbers do you have that are not in its own little circle by itself? Okay. Well, 4. Now that's on top. 3. That's on top. 2. That's on bottom. And that's it. Now, what are your variables? M, so I have M on top and on bottom, so it goes on top. And N, I have N on top and on bottom, so it goes on top. If any of them are on top, put them on top. Okay, 4. 1, but I circled it, so 1 times 1 is 1. Now 3 is to the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 is to the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Now let's do our M. How many do I have? I have 1, 2, and 3. Start on top. So to the second, we've got to take 2 times 1. That's 2. Now here's my next M. Okay? It's on bottom, so that'll be a minus. And I take negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. So parentheses negative 3. Okay? And then here's my next M. It's on bottom, so minus. If it's on bottom, you're minusing. I don't care what. Okay? It's to the 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. So parentheses negative 3. Okay, figure that out. So you got 2 minus parentheses negative 3 minus another parentheses negative 3, and I got 8. Okay, so M is to the 8th power. Okay, now let's look at the N. Here's my first one. It's on top, so 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Now here's my other N. It's on bottom, so that'll be a minus. Okay, it's to the 1. And 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Now if we've written minus down with the negative, make it 5 minus negative 3 in parentheses. You don't really have to put the parentheses. It just looks a little better. 5 minus, because see, if I go 5 minus negative 3, it's still 8. Okay, so that's 8. So I have 4 to the 1, 3 to the 1, 2 to the 1. M to the 8th, N to the 8th. Okay, 4 to the 1, again, that's just, again, so that's stay. 3, that 1's positive, that's stay, ST. 8's positive, so stay. 8's positive, so stay. And 2's positive, so stay. Everything stays in the same place then. 4 to the 1 times 3 to the 1 times M to the 8th times N to the 8th. Now, so a lot of people say, oh, that's positive, move it to, no, don't move it at all. Stay means keep it where it's at, okay? 2 to the 1. Okay, you got these factors here. And when I have a 1 power, it's just the number itself. Times 3 times M to the 8th times N to the 8th, and then that is 2. Okay, 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, we need to time, if they end up side by side, we need to times them. These two I don't really care. I know 12 divided by 2 is 6. Just don't worry about dividing them. Okay. All right, next problem. Any parentheses? No, we're not going to circle. So we don't need to do any times. You should not multiply at all in this problem. Okay, what numbers do I have that are not in its own little circle? 14 and 2. Now 14's on top, 2's on bottom. Now what variables you have? You have x top, bottom, so it takes the top. Okay. You have y top, y bottom, y takes the top. Okay. So 14's to the 1. Do not multiply because there's no, I did not do the big circle. Okay, so I just write 1 down. Now 2 is to the 1. Just write 1 down. X, first x is to the negative 3. And the next x we have is on bottom, so that would be minus and just negative 5. Do not multiply by anything because I didn't make the big circle. Okay, so negative 3 minus negative 5. That's 2. Okay, y. I have 6. The other y is on bottom, so minus, and then negative 2. Okay, we're subtracting. Okay, so 6 minus negative 2. That becomes 8. Because it's like minus negative is like becomes plus 2, so 6 plus 2 is 8. If you're taking away a negative, it's really the same as adding the positive. But that doesn't make any sense to you. You can just use a calculator. Okay, so we've got 14 to the first, x to the second, y to the 8th, 2 to the first. Okay, that's positive, stay, st. That's positive, stay, st. That's positive, stay, st. That's positive, stay. Everything stays, so just keep everything in the same place, on the same side of the line it's already on. Times x second times y 8, and then 2 to the first stays. Now, if they're these two factors, normally I would clone these, but not when it's to the first power. It just becomes 14 and 2. Then times x to the second times y to the 8th. Again, 14 and 2 are on opposite sides. You don't need to divide 14 by 2 at this point, okay? Now, most mathematicians would want you to. I don't need you to. I don't want you getting all flustered and confused by that. That was when I tried to teach an ABC thing. Nobody liked that. Okay, here's my parentheses, big one, with a negative 3. So any power out here needs to be multiplied by negative 3. We do multiply on this one. Numbers without their own little circle, I have a 3 and I have a 5. Okay, and then variables, I have x on top, x on bottom, put it on top. You also got a y, only one's on top, so it makes sense to put it on top. We have z on top, z on bottom. Okay, so 3 would be to the 1, but it is in the circle, so we take 1 times negative 3. Negative 3. If you don't know what to multiply that by, it's for this little thing outside, the little power outside. Okay, now x. I have a 2, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Now the next x, we're under the line, so the minus is the operation. That's to the 1, but again, that's in the big circle, so 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. So I have negative 6 minus negative 3, and that's negative 3. So the x is to the negative 3rd power. Okay, now y. Here's my first y. It's to the 5th power, but again, we got to take, don't write 5 down because you got to multiply 5 by negative 3, which is negative 15. Okay? That's it. That's all the y's I have. Okay? Now on to the z. Oh, okay, I'll do the 5 here later. Okay, I should have done the 5 after the 3, but we'll do the z. Z here, negative 2 times negative 3. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, as you can see. So 6 is my first. And the other z, I'm under the line, so that's a minus. And then 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. So parentheses, negative 15. So 6 minus negative 15, 21. Okay. All right, and then the 5's to the 1, but then 1 times, again, you circled it, so we got to take 1 times negative 3. Negative 3. So here's my first factor, second factor, third factor, y to the negative 15th, z to the 21st, and 5 to the negative 3rd. Okay, 3 to the negative 3, stay. Or no, switch, sorry, my bad, SW, switch. X and negative 3rd, SW, switch. SW, switch, because it's negative. The 21st was positive, so that's a stay. 5 to the negative third. Okay, it's negative, so switch. You're like, how do you switch it if it's on bottom? I'm about to tell you. Okay, that's switch. It goes from top to bottom. The 3 does, and the little 3 becomes positive. That X goes to the bottom, and the negative 3 becomes positive. This Y is switched to the bottom, and then the 15 becomes positive. Okay, the 21st, that's a stay. We keep the 21st on top. Okay, Z to the 21st. Now you're like, how do you switch that? Well, where's it at now? It's on bottom. Move it to the top. 5 to the third. Okay, so here are my factors. There's 5 of them. This is a monster problem here. Okay. 5 easy. The variables can't be cloned. 5 to the third, though, is 5 times 5 times 5, and that's 125. 3 to the third, 3 times 3 times 3, and that's 27. Okay, and then we keep the variables where they're at. So times Z to the 21st times X to the third times Y to the 15th. Okay, you keep everything, and once you're to the here to here, you don't move anything anymore. You're done. This is where we move things, not here. 125 and 27, again, those are on the opposite side. Don't divide them. Okay, that's a monster problem.